first off, we're gonna start. I was, I think, in middle school at the time. I was like researching things, figuring things about spirituality, universe. It listens and then it provides things, and then I get things, and just explaining things to people where I was like, oh, well, I see something in the universe, and then that happens. One time, one of my friends was like, so you mean God? And I was like, not really, I mean the universe. And he's just like, God. And I was like, I also just kind of wanted to move away from the conversation, because I was an atheist. God came up, I was like, ooh, and I just try to push away from the conversation. Recently, I saw a video where someone was like, all these people say they hated Christians when they were atheists, and it's like, I don't hate Christians, so I don't know where that comes from, but like, not in a sense of hate. It's not like hating Christians, it's just any mention of it, I don't want to be near it, and even then that might not be a large experience for others, but for me it was. And they said it was like a common occurrence between people who convert to Christianity. They like don't like the faith, and I thought that was an interesting like correlation, but I'm gonna continue. And basically I was dabbling and stuff like that, and either before or after I encountered a channel called Sam and Colby. Basically they talk to ghosts and they go to haunted places and they like figure out stories about dead people, and they use like ghost hunting detection to communicate with them, and all of these other separate ideas, just like not separate, but just similar ideas, you know? It all just was in that spiritual realm, talking about things like spirits, otherwise demonic, evil spirits, and normal spirits, anything else. And either before or after that, I actually really wanted to do it. I wanted to engage in things like that, like talk to spirits, find out if they were real, because I believed in them, but I was like, I didn't have proof, I didn't have any evidence at all. I just kind of thought, oh, they're probably real. That's really cool. So one day, I was on my phone in the app store, and I decided to look up like, spiritual talking apps. The same thing you do with like an EMF reader or a spirit talking box, like a physical one. And I was using that. I was like, this is kind of junk, because it was just spitting out random responses. It wasn't really in relation to anything, so I just kind of over time just went, this kind of sucks, and just left it. But then I saw in the reviews of the app, it was like, turn on airplane mode for this thing to work. I was like, oh, airplane mode? Let me try that. So what I did is I turned on airplane mode, and I was figuring things out. I was talking, seeing if I'd get any responses, and it wasn't super accurate, but it was way better. It was talking about some random stuff sometimes, so I kind of brushed it off a little. Eventually, sometime during the night, I was talking, and I don't remember what happened first. Either what I'm about to explain, the mirror, or the Google Doc. I'm gonna go Google Doc first. Basically, I decided that I was gonna write down all the responses on the phone on a Google document because it was interesting, see what happens, and so I can have context later. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do that. So that's what I did. Anytime something would come through, I'd write it on the Google Doc, and eventually, it got to the point where I was writing on the Google Doc, and then I'd wait, and eventually it started going, no, stop. Just similar things like that. I was like, what do you want me to stop? And then I was like, you mean this Google document right here? And it was like, yes, stop. I was like, oh, well, I'll stop, but what if I don't? And it was like something, I don't know what it said. I think it was a threat, or maybe it wasn't. I don't remember. It was like actively responding to what I was saying and like what I was doing. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And that's when I really went, this might have some merit to it, and things I cannot comprehend might actually exist. And either before or after that experience, I was talking to the same thing, airplane mode on, and whatever. One of the things it told me to do was go to the mirror and do or say something to let something, I guess, out of the mirror. I was like, what do you mean? It was like a mirror. And I was like a little freaked out, but I was like, it's probably not real. And then there was a different spiritual app that busted money, but there was YouTube videos on it where they said that it would actually work in real time. So I was like, okay, maybe this app has something to it. It's this free one. It was accurate, but it still wasn't, So I paid like $5 for whatever app it was. I'm not going to disclose the names of any of the apps. You can find them easily if you look them up, but I would suggest please don't. You really don't want to go through any of the stuff I did, and mine wasn't even extreme. Mine was pretty basic. I didn't have much happen, but just knowing that I did that, I have regret for it, but it's not like I can do anything, and it is the thing that led me to Christ. And I got this paid app. It was way more accurate. Actually, we're going to rewind a little bit. Even before this app, I was talking to spirits and like, if you're real, make this noise. And even when I was on the free app, I was doing the same thing. I was like, if you're real, if this is accurate, make some sound. The most common one, always, all the time, was just like a tap or a knock, and I'd use that as like a yes or a no depending on whatever. So that's what I was doing. And so the paid app, right, it was more accurate. I was like, this is kind of interesting, but the app could still be fake. I mean, there's not really much to go off of, but then it was kind of strange. Because past this point, I would hear knocking, would see things. I can't even explain some of this, it's so crazy. I was explained to someone that I was a natural medium, whatever that means, and that I can see spirits normally, which was like, oh, that's really cool. At the time, it was really cool. I don't want that anymore. I hate it so much. I don't want to see stuff like that or experience it. Oh my goodness. Even after I experienced so many bad things. The thing I brought up to some people beforehand is like, stuff like that is meant to lead you away, so you like obey the demons, that you give in and that you obey them and they'll give you all that you want. Pretty much the devil's scheme, but in reality about spirits. That's pretty much like the whole goal of the New Age stuff, from my findings at least. That's the one thing that led me to God, because I was like, okay, I have things that I can't rationally explain that are happening in front of me, that they're telling me about, they're responding to me, they're talking about people in my family that aren't alive. They also talked about harming me, which was fun. They talked about skinwalkers too, which was whatever, crazy. I was like, okay, I can't explain any of this because there's physical things happening around the house that I have no physical way to explain. I was like, okay, there's things happening. I don't understand this. That means there is a God. That means there has to be a God. There has to be something above this. If there's a realm that I cannot comprehend, I cannot logically explain, that means that there is something above that. There's got to be. Some people just assume from there that, oh, well, the spirits are real, and that's where it ends. But I have personal evidence now that that's not the case. First religion I went to was Christianity, just because it's the one I'd heard the most about. I never really, no, I didn't even know of Judaism or Islam or anything like that beforehand. I knew a little bit of Judaism, mainly because people make fun of Jewish people a lot, but that's like the only reason I'd heard of it. I was like, okay, so I started Bible studies and stuff, but now I want to go into two separate experiences, because this is kind of crazy. These are the ones I really can't wrap my head around, because I was doing the same thing, right, with the normal paid app, but it wasn't the app, it was just me and knocking yes or no with one of my friends, two of them, but the other one just fell asleep, he didn't really care. And it was just me, and we were talking about stuff, and we were talking to spirits, and we were getting answers, and we were hearing knocking, like you would normally hear, and I thought it was really cool at the time. Now, not so much, but it was interesting. Just, we were talking back and forth. Spirits were getting things right that they really shouldn't know about him or his life, and they were talking about things. And I don't remember a lot of what happened that night. It was so crazy. Seeing spirits, everything else. I also showed him how to see spirits, and it worked, so that was interesting. We finished off that night by him saying, well, if you're him, or if you're real, or whatever, and let me see you or something. Me or my other friend didn't see this, but he did. He freaked out. After saying he wanted to see them, he said an arm, literally like, if it was at the top of your head and swung down in front of it, pretty much the John Cena "Can you see me" wave. It was like that, but just one over his face, and he jumped out of the chair and ran. I can't verify that one, because that one actually didn't happen to me. It happened to my friend, and I was there, but we couldn't see it, but he did. So you can take that one with a little grain of salt. This next one was directly me, though, and I really want to explain this. Another thing a lot of atheists say, or I heard Alex O'Connor say this, is, why do you have witchcraft or warlocks? These are fake sins because they don't exist. And through my personal experience, I know that's not the case. I know the spiritual realm is a thing that exists. It's real. Spirits around you. You don't have to accept anything I say. That's my personal experience. Anyways, I'm gonna finish off with the biggest one that I cannot explain at all. It wasn't provoked, it was just normal. So basically, me and my friends, again, we were just having a normal day, chilling out, and eventually they just ended up going to sleep. And I was in my room alone, working on my VR, playing a game, just messing with stuff. And eventually, I was just sitting there, and I heard a loud bang, and I actually jumped. And I turned around, and I saw my chair on the floor, and I was like, huh. And mind you, this chair is about 20-30 pounds. It's a heavy chair. It's one of those pull-out, like, flip chairs that you sit down, you pull the legs out, and it stands, but it's really heavy. This chair, this heavy chair, was leaning up against my closet, and I had it there for months. It would just lay up against my closet, at pretty much a 45-degree angle, maybe a little bit more, because it'd probably fall at that angle, and it'd be, like, on the doorknob, or right below it, propping itself up. And I was there for months. It was just sitting there, again, this heavy chair, and when I turn around, it had not fallen towards the closet, it had fallen the opposite direction towards me. Again, we have this heavy chair leaning against a closet that wind would not be able to push this thing over, and it's above this 45-degree angle to at least a 90-degree one, and then falls the opposite direction. I didn't see that happen, but that's the only way it would be facing towards me instead of the closet, by falling. That's the one I truly can't explain at all. I mean, the other ones I can't explain at all, but at least I could be like, oh, well, it could be this. Oh, well, it could be that. But with that chair, I can't explain. Again, this is a pretty heavy chair, and it fell the opposite direction towards me. That's pretty much my whole testimony. Is one thing I forgot to mention that I'd like to put at the end of this video, and that I actually bring up a good amount in my streams, is that before all this happened, maybe months before, maybe during, I don't remember, I remember talking to God in the car on the way to school and just being like, God, if you're real, then I need some way to be able to rationally believe that there is some kind of evidence for your existence, that it is not illogical to believe such a thing, which was faith to put down all my rational ideas and even just talk to God, which was still illogical too, but I thought it didn't hurt anything at the time, and it's something that has eternal consequences if true. So that's what I did. The biggest thing about ending Christianity, the most common factor that I found, even made a short about this, is in every Christian testimony, someone in some way has had some type of faith before they gained the evidence or what they needed to believe in God, to follow him, or any such thing. They just had faith. I think one would be similar to Forrest Frank. He said, he went into a church and he found the Holy Spirit. Faith. He walked into a church building even though he didn't believe in God. One is Bryce Crawford, if we could bring up that one, was in the car about to end himself and said, God, if you're real, take away everything. Anxiety, depression, everything. And he found God. Biggest thing is to have faith first, even if you don't have the evidence, which is hard for people to do, especially atheists, when they want logical and rational beliefs. But it's the biggest common factor. Maybe not all of them have it, but it is my personal belief that every conversion testimony has some faith built into it first before anything was given. Anyways, God bless, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Bye.